everyone, Beth here from the Byron Public Library, and today I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to bake up some delicious apple cider donuts. I can smell them, they smell delicious. First of all, let's go over what you received in your kit. So for those of you who picked up a kit, you'll have a bag that says flour mix, which has flour, baking powder, baking soda, and then some spices in it. Then there's also one that's called the sugar mix. Those are together. Those are the ones that we'll actually make the donuts with. Then we have the topping, and we have some vanilla extract. Also then in a separate bag you received a stick of butter, 3 tablespoons of butter, and some hot apple cider. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the very first step, which is to cook down the apple cider. So what you want to do is pour your apple cider into a saucepan, and then you're going to put it onto the stove, put it on medium-high heat, and cook it for about 30, possibly 40 minutes. What I usually do is I cook it, set the timer, in 30 minutes I pour it into a measuring cup and see if I'm down to 1/3 of a cup. If not, I'll pour it back in, put it back on for about 10 more minutes. Usually that does it. So 40 minutes is usually the tops that you have to do. So you're going to cook it down, and when you finish you're going to end up with 1/3 of a cup, and it's a little bit of a darker color, a little bit thicker, not a lot thicker, but a little bit thicker. And so that's your very, very, very first step. So you're going to do that, and if you're going to make them for breakfast, you probably want to cook down your apple cider the night before and put it in the refrigerator to just use in the morning. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and melt our 3 tablespoons of butter for our recipe here. And then while we're doing that, I am going to prep my pans. So these are some silicone donut pans, baking pans, that my friend let me borrow, and they are fantastic. I'm actually ordering some myself. They work really well, they clean up real nice, donuts come out of them very easily. So if you have a donut pan, that's all you need to do then is to take and give them a good coat of cooking spray so that they kind of slide out when you get to that point. So give those a good spray. Now let's say you don't have a actual donut baking dish. You can use a cupcake muffin pan, and that's all you need to do is you need to take a piece of aluminum foil like this, and you're going to actually make with your finger the center, where the center of the donut hole is. And then you just kind of make it into a little bit of a cup like this, and you're going to place it inside your muffin tin. Just make sure that it's covered all the way around like that. And then again, you're going to give it a good spray of cooking oil to make it so that it slides out easy when they're finished. So we've got that. We'll put that aside. Now for actually creating the donut batter, it's so simple. So you're going to want to take a bowl, and the only things that I did not include in your ingredients that you're going to need would be an egg. So we're going to put an egg in there, and a 1/2 cup of, it says on the recipe whole or 2% milk. I actually have 2%, so I'm going to go ahead and put in 2% milk there. And then I'm going to take a whisk, and that's all I want to do is, it's not like I really want to beat it up really good, but I want to just mix the egg and the milk together so that it's, if you can see that or not. So it's just barely mixed together. And then we're going to go ahead and take the rest of our ingredients that we're going to put put into this bowl, which would include our sugar mixture. We pour that in. It's nice when you get a kit because then everything is all measured out already for you. Then we're going to add in our 3 tablespoons of butter, melted butter. Add that in. And we're going to add in our teaspoon of vanilla. And then we are going to go ahead and just whisk that together a little bit, just to make sure that it just kind of gets mixed. So the dough for this, or the batter, it would be similar to that of like muffins. So you don't want to make it super smooth. You just want to make sure that it gets mixed somewhat well. Okay, so we have that all mixed. And then we're going to go ahead and add our apple cider to that as well. Put that in there. Like that. Add that a little bit. And I'll set that aside for a minute here. And then I'm going to take our flour mixture with all of our baking soda and baking powder and cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom. And we're going to put it into a separate bowl. Or actually, you could really just leave it in the bag. And you're just going to want to mix everything together. Make sure there's not any kind of big lumps from anything while it was being stored in the bag. Smells wonderful. I love the spices of fall. They smell so good. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this to our wet mixture. And then we're just going to fold it in. We just want to make it so that the mixture is moist. It's okay if it has some lumps in it. That's fine. We just want to make sure that all the dry mixture is mixed in. I actually was quite surprised at how delicious these turned out. Everyone who I've shared them with has really enjoyed them. I hope that you guys do as well. Okay. So that is all we have to do here. Okay. So it looks like that. And now we're going to go ahead and put it into the pan. Now, if you have a piping bag and you would prefer to use a piping bag, feel free. I personally have had a lot of luck just using this teaspoon. And so I just like to teaspoon it in. You don't want to put it all the way to the top because it does rise. And mine kind of, the first ones I made kind of had like a lip on them because I had put a little bit too much in. This size silicone cup, I made 15 with some. If the recipe does say, I think like it makes 16 donuts. So you go ahead and you fill all these up and then bake them at 350 for 10 minutes. I have not had any of mine finished in 10 minutes, so I put them on for 10 minutes and I check them, and then I usually put them on for another 3 to 5 minutes. So they do take a little bit longer than the 10 minutes that the recipe calls for. So once they're finished, you want to take them out and let them just sit for about 5 minutes, and then you're going to just lift the pan upside down and pop them out. If you're using the tin foil, you might be able to just lift the tin foil and pop it out. Okay, and so now we're going to have our donuts. This is what they look like when they come out of the donut pan, and we're going to put the topping on. And so the very first thing you want to do is you want to melt down the stick of butter. So go ahead and put that into the microwave and put that down. While you're doing that, you can go ahead and use the, make your topping. And the topping's all made here. So the cup of sugar with a teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a half a teaspoon of cardamom. And again, it gets your senses all going there. And you're going to want to just mix those up a little bit just to make sure everything is mixed well, so that when you dunk your donut in there, it gets a nice mixture of all the flavors. And again, you can see some of the seasonings or the spices still in there. It's fine, it'll work. So, perfect timing. So we've melted our butter, and hopefully you have a brush, because the brush really is helpful in getting your butter onto your donuts. And so you just take and brush the butter onto the donut. Make sure you cover all the edges all the way around and the top. And then after you do that, you want to put it into the bowl. And I like to just take and swirl it around in there, and then put it upside down and do the top. And there's your donut. Go ahead and do another one. Now, these are wonderful when they are fresh. They're wonderful when they're not fresh, but you want to store them if you're not going to eat them right away, or if you have leftovers, you want to store them in the refrigerator. And then if you like to have them warm, you can put it in the microwave for like 10 seconds and warm it up and enjoy. I like them too because they're baked instead of fried, and so I don't feel as bad, although it does have a lot of sugar in it. I don't feel as guilty eating it as if it had been the other. So, so that's how you create some delicious homemade apple cider donuts, and I hope that you and your family enjoy them.